This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. Bumper to Bumper, helping you and your car feel better. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio. Matt Allen is off, so I brought in a little help. I've got Kurt Morgan from Shadow Mountain Auto Repair at 32nd Street in Shea, and to give me a hand. At KTAR, at Bumper to Bumper Radio, we are helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. If you got car questions, we've got answers, so we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can also text your questions to 411-923. And today on the Bumper to the Bumper Roadmap, car tip of the week, open phones and texts, of course, and recalls. And recalls are something that you probably have in your mailbox right now because there's 17 million cars under recall for airbags. And Kurt, you've probably got a couple at your house, right? You got cars under recall, or you have customers' cars under recall?
Yeah, sure. You register your car, they know where you are. They're going to send you a notice if there's any kind of recall at all. It's an interesting customer list that they have there.
It is, and the reason it's a topic for me is I've got a customer who's a good friend of mine who I regularly service his Honda Element. He's got a 2003 or 2004 Honda Element, and he got a recall notice on his airbag, so he did what the normal person would do. He calls up and makes an appointment at the local Honda dealership. He takes it in to get the airbag recall, and they call him up or they send him an email, and they said, there's some things wrong with your car, and we've got an attached thing here you should check out, and we're going to give you a call in a little bit to answer any questions you might have. So he opened it up, and he brought his car in there thinking it worked pretty good for an oil change and an airbag. $6,600 of service work for his Element. So the next thing he did was call me. He said, Dave, are you not taking care of my car? Well, he knew I was. He knew he didn't need $6,600 worth of work because he's pretty car savvy, and so he wasn't all excited about it. But I went ahead and opened the attachment, and I said, oh, my goodness, I'm going down this shopping list of stuff. In recalls, you'll have recalls that happen after the vehicle's got 20,000 miles on it, 30,000 miles, things they identify right away. But when a car's got 100,000 miles on it and you go in for a recall, you know, sometimes you go in there for the recall, which is free, but you may get the shopping list. And Kurt, we're talking before the show is that, you know, I could buy a brand new pair of shoes and I could wear it for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, I could be certain that there's going to be wear on the soles. But guess what? The shoes are still good. And I think you can look at any car and write up a shopping list if you want. What are the thoughts that come to your mind, Kurt, when you see that?
Well, it's like we were talking about. I mean, there's a couple different things. You're talking about the recall part of it. If the dealership didn't want a car back into the dealership, there wouldn't have been dealerships that have been in trouble for really aggressively pushing a borderline recall. I mean, if your wiper blades aren't lining up correctly and the dealership calls you and says, hey, safety, you got to get your 8-year-old car in here so that we can take care of the recall. They've been in trouble for doing that. They've been fined for doing that. Different manufacturer dealerships have been fined for that. So obviously they want the car in there. Then to turn around and say that in your case, your buddy, it needed $6,600 of the work. And I think every shop owner has been on the other side of that. You're taking care of a car. You're responsible for it. Everything is fine. The car, your customer is safe. Everything is good. They go to somewhere else off in the dealership, and they need all this work. Oh, my God. And they come back, and they're scared to death, and they don't know which way to turn. They've lost faith in the automotive business altogether, and it's just a horrendous thing. And, if that stuff is legitimate and we're screwing up and not selling people stuff that they need or telling them what's wrong with their car, then okay, but it's not the case. And it makes me mad. This is horrific, that we see this stuff where, and the analogy that you're using about, hey, a little bit of wear, I tell people this all the time. Just because something in your car is not exactly like it was when it rolled off the showroom floor, that is not a good reason to affect a repair on that component. And other people sometimes seem to think it is. And it, it's either incompetence or dishonesty. And I'll tell you which one I believe it is.
Well, I think the car was only new once. I mean, it smelled new. You drove it off the lot. It was great. It was new once. But after that, it's not perfect. It was only perfect once, and even when it was new, it probably had a few flaws. That's why there's recalls at 20 and 30,000 miles. But you're seeing a vehicle that travels into a dealership where technicians in general are looking at cars that have 50,000 miles or less, 60,000 miles or less. Now we take a car in there with 100,000 miles, and this is a grocery list. I mean, this thing has, how much for the wiper blades? $86 for all three wiper blades?
And price is whatever it is, but I mean, they're looking, this is a little kid in a candy store when they get this thing in there with 100,000 miles on it. And again, honest is honest. If this is all legitimate stuff, if they driven it for 100,000 miles, the car's been massively abused or neglected, okay, that's legitimate stuff. When the car comes in there and you and I both know that they're trying to replace something that looks a rubber component that looks a little bit worn, that's, it's been sitting out in the sun for 5 years, so what? It works fine, it's safe, it's not affecting the operation of the vehicle, it's flat ripping people off. And I say that so rarely. I think it's such a touchy thing, but I'm frothing at the mouth at how mad it makes me.
He is. If you guys could see him, it's really just running down his cheeks right now.
Yeah.
Well, they offered him a clutch for $1,900, and I have a transmission shop, so it was in my shop literally 2 or 3 months earlier, and he said, Dave, why don't you recommend me a clutch? He was joking with me. We had some fun with it because I would have been happy to do a clutch for him if he would have needed one. He just didn't need one.
Sure.
So I wasn't going to fix his clutch. So I don't want people to be scared because I know there's 17 million customers out there that have vehicles. I mean, this goes back to the year 2000, this recall. And what this is the KTAR recall on these airbags. And it's just grown over time. And so more and more people are starting to get these letters in the mail that it's a recall for their airbags. And so they don't necessarily go to the dealership normally. They have a relationship with another shop, and that's what it comes down to. They have a relationship, so they go into this new place cold. No one knows them, knows how they want to take care of the car. Maybe you're one of those people that wants your new car to be, or your old car to be perfect. I have customers like that. They say, I don't care, just go ahead and do it anyway. No, you don't need it. Go ahead and do it. Okay, I'll do it for you. But there is that customer. But I think as the car's getting older, you see that less and less. I mean, when the car's new, you want to keep it new. But when it gets old, you kind of start to, a ding here, a dent there. Okay, I understand.
Well, different customers have different tolerance levels. I have customers who, if one drop of oil hits the painted floor on their garage, that's unacceptable. It doesn't matter if it costs $2,000 to fix it, and that's fine. I have the same car, same situation, same everything, but it's somebody's just trying to get back and forth to work. Finances are tight right now. In a million years, as long as that car is safe and reliable, they're not going to spend $2,000 to fix that oil leak, and we have to adjust ourselves to that customer. In the places that treat everybody as if they are that customer has no tolerance for anything not being right, and kind of pushes somebody, hey, you might want to put the rent off for a little while, live on top ramen because you need to get this oil leak fixed. That's a form of dishonesty, but it's also what you get when you don't have that really good relationship with whoever it is that's servicing your car.
Well, the way this conversation ended, he says, I appreciate you pointing all that out to me. Thank you so much. I'll just stick with my airbag and my oil change. And they say, well, what are you going to do with the vehicle? You want to sell the vehicle? You want to get a different vehicle? You're going to get rid of it? He goes in with a perfectly good car, and all of a sudden he's got a car that's not even worth driving or fixing. I mean, this is a Honda with 100,000 miles. It's only half broken in. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of life, but he's been talked to like the car is just a rolling piece of garbage. And it's far from a rolling piece of garbage. So I think that's a good point, is that different customers that we see have different expectations for auto repair. And that's true. And we obviously can tell the difference. I had a truck in my shop this week. It was a 2000 Toyota Tacoma with 160,000 miles on it. It didn't have a single scratch on the thing. Everything under the hood was perfect. All the hoses were, he had replaced the hoses, but he replaced them with Toyota hoses. There was nothing aftermarket in this car. Well, I take notice of that. He's the original owner. I know what he's looking for. He's a different customer than, if he would have given the car to his son and his son's, hit some curbs with it and things are broken and the mirror's hanging off, and he doesn't really care. He's just happy to put gas in it and drive it. And I just got to make sure it's safe and it's functional. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm looking for when it comes to that vehicle. So recalls, and I don't know if people quite understand what the difference is between a recall and a technical service bulletin, but a recall is when, hey, we have a safety issue with a car and we're going to pay to fix it. Now there's also technical service bulletins, and those are just known problems with the vehicle that the manufacturer writes a bulletin to alert technicians in their shop to know, hey, this is a common problem we're seeing. Don't waste all your time diagnosing it. here you go. We've seen it 100 times. So that would be a technical service bulletin, but a recall would be something more like a safety issue. Hey, Kurt, they say that a chain is only strong as its weakest link. And when it comes to your car, the weakest link a lot of times is the battery. I see more cars towed in or broken down on the side of the road or stuck in a parking lot because they got a bad battery. So we use interstate batteries, and a battery is something you don't want to, I guess if you don't mind the inconvenience of a dead battery, I guess you could ignore it. But batteries typically in Arizona last 2 to 3 years. So if you've got 3 years on a battery, just know that you're living on borrowed time, and maybe it's time to get in and see about getting a new interstate battery. That is going to be the most common repair. You can choose when you buy a battery, or you can let your car choose for you. Now, if you're on the side of the road, there's people that will sell you a battery to kind of help convenience-wise, but you don't have a whole lot of options on what they carry. You're buying whatever battery it is they sell. So I choose Interstate because it's a nationwide brand. It's been around forever, and there's probably more than half the shops in this town carry Interstate batteries. So when we come back, we got open lines at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can also text us at 411-923. You're listening to Dave Riccio on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Mac and Gatos.
DPS has arrested a suspect in the freeway shootings.
But this is not over. The head of DPS says there may be others. We'll talk about it coming up Monday at 2.
KTAR News on 92.3 FM and KTAR.com.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A-plus rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20-plus years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
It sounds like they've just had the accurate automotive experience. We're family-owned and operated and have served the Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert communities for over 22 years. We focus on building long-lasting relationships and, oh yeah, listening to you so that we can understand, meet, and exceed your expectations. One location, 14 bays, 88 years of automotive expertise, and a passionate commitment to customer service and excellence. My name is Lee Weatherby, and I approve this message because it's true. We love what we do, and we want to do it for you. Accurate Automotive, the home of friends serving friends.
This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio. Matt Allen from Virginia Auto Service decided to take the week off, or the weekend off, so he's not here. But I do have Kurt Morgan from Shadow Mountain Auto Repair, which you can find at 32nd in Shea, and he is one of the favorite shops of mine at Bumper to Bumper Radio. So if you're looking for a good shop and you're anywhere near that area, or if you're looking for a good shop and you want to drive to a good shop, Shadow Mountain Auto Repair is a fantastic shop. We got a couple of texts here, Kurt. 2014 Honda Civic with a CVT transmission. It has, I guess that's 8,000 miles on it. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. 2014. When would you recommend servicing the transmission? You got any ideas on that, Kurt?
No. It's too new, and you're a guy in the transmission business. And you and I have had these conversations. Normally, I'll go with what the dealer says. I think they're so new to all of us, and where all of us have our reservations about the CVT transmissions, that I don't have a firm opinion on that. I know it's terrible to say, but we're learning as we go on that newer stuff. What do you tell me? What do you think?
I would say CVTs are not as durable as regular transmissions.
Oh, no.
That would be my observation. So I think what we want to do is avoid buying a transmission between now and the time we sell the car. So I'm a 30,000 mile believer. And I don't know, you said that whatever the dealer recommendation is, and I don't know if that's whatever the factory recommendation is per se, because sometimes I see things where I don't necessarily, the factory manual says one thing, and that's a starting point, but our experience tells us, hey, maybe that's not enough, or maybe that's overkill on services.
And I misspoke saying the dealer, because the dealer, of course, cuts the recommendations, down to a third or whatever, so they can make more money all too often. But yeah, the manufacturer, the engineers of that vehicle, and then as we learn, as these vehicles start hitting 100,000 miles, and we see so many of them, look at the Nissans, look at more or less the debacle that Nissan is having with their CVT transmissions, and certainly I would never stick with a factory recommendation in those cases, because we're just that's one of those deals where I just man, that's tough. And then the fluids are so different and they're so expensive, and never would I deviate in those instances unless I knew I had a good alternative to the factory fluid. And that's just such a touchy subject, the CVTs.
Well, you can text us at 411-923, and our phone number is 602-277-5827. And I'm not quite seeing information here on the call log, so I'm going to go in blind to line number 1. You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio. What can we help you with today?
Hello?
Yep, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. What can we help you with?
Yes, my name's Andrew. I have a 2004 Mercedes C230 Compressor, and about 2 weeks ago I had a new battery and alternator installed. 3 days after they were installed, I had the light come on that says, check battery and alternator. So that evening, I wanted to go back to tell the shop, and the car wouldn't turn over. Had it towed in. Took them 2 days to find out. They said I blew a 200-amp fuse. And they put the new fuse in and tried to start it up again, and then more fuses blew. Now, that being said, the battery that they put in there said, hey, this is a little bigger than the last battery, but it's okay for your car. And I was wondering if that can correlate to my problems, and the alternator, or vice versa, is causing me these electrical problems after the install.
No. Battery, it's a little bit too big. It's not going to cause a 200-amp maxi fuse to blow. You've got something else going on in there, and somewhere in this process, my guess is somebody has tried to jump-start the car backwards or crossed the positive and the negative cable, because that's where you get a whole bunch of fuses blown and you start getting electrical problems right after a battery is put in. And I don't know where or how that happened. I have no idea where you've been. Typically, that's not the shop that does that, because the internal way that they handle stuff like that, but who knows. But certainly that's a huge issue. And it sounds like there's probably been some pretty serious damage there. Now, I don't know that, but 200-amp fuse blows, there's a serious problem there.
Well, that's one of the things that we preach over and over again as far as jump-starting cars. We talked about it just last weekend. You can jump-start a car, or you can just call and have the car towed to the shop that you have a relationship with to get a new battery installed, if that's the case. But more times than not, I get cars in my shop that have damage done from the wrong jump starting.
Yep.
Where a module got popped.
Yep.
I say module there's computers in your car, and they're sensitive. I'm kind of sensitive myself. But you go, plugging in these cables and arcing and sparking, and maybe you get it wrong. And, Matt was mentioning last week, there's cars where both battery cables are black. Well, which one's positive, which one's negative? So look a little closer if you're going to jump start a car. But when you see the battery light come on, chances are the alternator's not charging, and at some point, if you ignore that, you're going to have a dead battery. So thanks so much for the call. We're going to go to the next one. And, Bree, I'm not sure what's going on, but the logger's not working. I can't read anything there. So we're going to go to line 2. Hey, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. How can we help you today?
Hello?
Hello, you're on Bumper to Bumper.
This is Phil calling, Phil Lovell, and I've got a 2005 Toyota Avalon. And here's my question. I got both what's called the VSC light and the check engine light came on. VSC meaning Vehicle Stability Control System. And those are both on. And so I've called and I've made an appointment for next Tuesday to take it in and get it checked out. But my question is this. Is there any problem that you guys know of in driving the car in the interim? And the only reason I ask that, it seems to drive okay, but as I look at the tachometer and the RPMs and stuff, just every once in a while it'll drop down and then recover. But I don't see how that has anything to do with this vehicle stability control. And my question is, I want to drive it around this weekend and maybe Monday before I take it in. Do you see a problem?
Well, I always think of red lights on the dashboard and yellow lights on the dashboard. And both the VSC light and the check engine light are yellow lights, which means we're not going to totally ignore them. But if you need to limp around for the weekend, those lights come on for 200 different reasons. So how serious it is, I can't tell you. But I know with Toyotas, when you do turn on a check engine light, oftentimes the VSC light is with it.
Always. The Toyota strategy there for when they run a check engine light is turn on the VSC light. You could have your gas cap loose and it'll turn on a VSC light. Here's the driving thing with a check engine light is that if it's flashing, you're doing damage usually to the catalytic converter. You have a dead misfire. If it's not flashing, then chances are it's something fairly minor. There's literally over 2,000 codes that'll turn on a check engine light, and there's no way to know from just knowing that you have a check engine light. However, Toyota, all the time you'll see a VSC light along with a check engine light. It is usually nothing serious, and if you're not feeling anything really abnormal in the way the car is driving and your check engine light is not flashing, certainly I would, and I don't want to give you a blanket, there's absolutely nothing bad that can happen. Get it in, get it checked as soon as possible, but that's normal with a Toyota. The VSC light is on with a check engine light, and the chances are really, really remote that there's anything serious that's inhibiting how you should drive that car, for sure.
Thanks for the call, Phil. 602-277-5827. We're going to go to Josh in Peoria on an 02 Chevrolet Silverado. How can we help you, Josh? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. I just bought a 2002 Chevy Silverado 5.3 Vortex Chevy pickup truck. The truck does have some mileage on it. It's got 230,000 miles. Kind of had two questions. One is, what are some of the maintenance and recommendation things? I have no history on the truck. What can I do to just kind of get it all tuned up, and what would you recommend as far as service? And then two, when can I expect to do a potential rebuild on the truck if it's been maintained properly?
Okay, those are all great questions. I think when you just buy a vehicle, I think that's the time where we talked about the shopping list, Kurt. That's the time where we want to look at everything on the truck, not just, look under the hood, but look at brakes, look at transmission, look at differential, look at everything, and then we can decide what's important and what needs to be taken care of. But we got to get some sort of starting place for that truck.
That goes back to the relationship you have with somebody who can look at it professionally and tell you where to start.
So that's, and as far as, that should be a paid inspection, I feel like. I think a lot of times people give you a cursory inspection, and they don't really look into all that. So when we come back, we're taking your phone calls at 602-277-5827. You listen to Bumper Radio.
Hi, this is Jerry Colangelo, inviting you to be my guest at the legendary Biltmore Golf Club for our annual Bunker to Bunker tournament benefiting Phoenix Children's Hospital.
Join us Saturday, September 26th for a fantastic day of golf, fun, food, and prizes, all for just $89. This even includes a free bounce back coupon for a second round of golf.
Space is limited, so register today.
Bunker to Bunker's two-person scramble is always a great time at an incredible value. For info and registration, go to bunkergolf.com.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio. Matt Allen from Virginia Auto Service is taking the day off, so you get me today, but you also get Kurt Morgan from Shadow Mountain Auto Repair, who came in to give me a hand, giving you a hand with your car. And today we're talking about recalls or anything you want to talk about at 602-277-5827. You can also text us at 411-923. And I've got a text here. This gentleman has a Toyota Tacoma with 50,000 miles on it, and there's a recall for the spare tire, which is underneath the back of the truck. And he's the recall is to redo that because that cable that holds the tire up can get corroded. So he's asking if you should go get it done. Yeah, absolutely. It's a recall. It's free. Go get it done. That's pride of ownership in your car. Hey, I keep everything great. But be aware that you can go in with a perfectly good vehicle, and you can walk out with a shopping list for $6,600. The part that bothers me about that is that they take away confidence from the person that owns that car. Oh,
They're-
your car's a
they're
piece
doing
of junk.
That's doing damage to somebody. That's not helping somebody in their life or enhancing their life. That's causing them damage because now they have doubt in their car.
They have doubt in their car, and they sell new cars, so it's their benefit to tell them how junky the car is, except for if they fix it, they're still ahead. That's why it makes me mad.
Yeah.
My friend has got OCD in relation to cars, so he always calls me up, hey, should I be worried about this, And he knows he shouldn't be, but he just needs me to remind him. So when somebody gives him a shopping list like that, I know he lays awake at night, and he's like, oh, I wonder if there was a little bit of truth to what he said.
And you have those customers that every time you tell them, hey, I got to tell you, we're going to watch something, probably nothing, no big deal, but let's just watch. I got a picture, here you go. And then you just know they're going to lie awake at night and worry about it, and you spend more time talking them down. Don't worry about this. We're not going to do anything. It's not appropriate to do the repair. I'm not going to, we're not going to worry about it. Don't worry about this. Don't let me worry. I have to be honest. Here's what's wrong, but we're not going to, it's probably years before we address this. And you spend a lot of time because you care about their state of mind. And then somebody goes and they take it in for, a seatbelt, little recall or the spare tire. And here's a dealership that, completely destroys their faith in the vehicle because the dealership, they don't want any kind of long-term, and I'm not all of them, but whoever it is that's doing it, they're destroying somebody's faith in their car. And some of these people are very sensitive to that. They depend on these things, and they're very worried about being stranded somewhere. And now this place, whoever it is, has destroyed their relationship with their car that sometimes is, we're geeks about this stuff, but some people it really does matter. It's a really significant part of their life. And
well, we need to clarify. There's really, really great dealerships out there.
You bet.
And there's some really, really bad dealerships out there. And there's some really great independents, and there's some really bad independents.
They're just people.
But we just want to make you aware of some of the things that go on so that you can be savvy as a consumer. And when you go in with a car that's driving perfectly fine for a new airbag and leave with a $6,600 estimate, that you don't lose a whole lot of sleep, but maybe you go get that second opinion on that from the guy that you trust and know and have come to know over the years. And take him cookies from time to time. That's really important. I'm a big supporter of that.
Chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip, absolutely. So up first this segment, we're going to go with Mark. He's got a 2003 Dodge Ram Diesel 2500. How can we help you, Mark? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, guys, I'm just looking for a reputable diesel mechanic. My mechanic for my other cars they only do gasoline engines, and I don't have any issues with it. I'm the second owner. Only has 72,000 miles on it, but I am looking for a good diesel shop.
What part of town are you in, Mark?
I live at 32nd Street in Baseline.
32nd Street and Baseline. Okay. We've got a couple shops in the Bumper to Bumper network that are really good at diesels. If you're up on the north end of town, maybe you work up there, we've got Kurt's Auto Repair. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's. He's up there. He's a diesel guru. And then the guy we have in the studio, which is Kurt Morgan, loves diesel. I call him a diesel geek. So he's at 32nd and Street and Shea. Matt at Virginia Auto Service does some diesel work as well. And then in Chandler, we've got Automotive Diagnostic, and it's more than up their alley, and they can take care of that. So there's some real good choices. To find those shops, you can go to bumperradio.com. So thanks so much for the call, Mark. We are going to go with JC in Chandler on a 2010 BMW. How can we help you, JC? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I have a 2010 BMW 328i, and it is a coupe with a sports package. And I previously had a 2008, which was basically the same thing as what I have now. But this car I purchased it used, and it appears that it drives different from my 2008. It just seems like the transmission doesn't quite shift the same way, and especially when you stop at a light. I remember my 2008 used to somehow disengage the transmission, and then when you would step on the gas slightly, then it would engage again, and then you can basically take off. So there was like a slight lag. I'm assuming that's for fuel consumption or whatever. But I wanted to know if there is anything that was probably done to this car to change the shifting or the programming or something, because I have also noticed that this car was owned by perhaps a handicapped person that had like the levers and the hand controls and those kind of things.
Well, I think what I'm going to do is, if you have any doubts, we've got a BMW guy Arizona Import Specialists. They're in Tempe, right down the street from me. The BMWs, a lot of them run a ZF transmission, which is a very complex, very advanced transmission. And a lot of those ZF transmissions, there are software updates for the transmission if the transmission develops some bad habits. But if you take that up to Joel at Arizona Imports or even over to Tri-City Transmission, we'll be able to look and see if it has the latest updated software and to see what the glitches are that you are experiencing. So transmissions will learn bad habits just from having a different driver in the car, and now you're a different driver and you got in the car and it's learned the last guy. So that's a very real thing that comes up on these transmissions as they get as advanced as they are. So thanks for the call, JC. 602-277-5827. We're going to go with Jody in Phoenix on a 2004 Toyota Land Cruiser. How can we help you, Jody? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi.
How you doing?
My 2004 Land Cruiser has 150,000 miles on it, and the engine is running really, really high and very loud. Sounds like I'm driving an 18-wheeler, and the RPMs seem to go extremely high and somewhat stay up there and don't come down. And at a point of time, the RPM, I think you call it odometer dealy, it stayed at 0 for a couple weeks and then started working again. I took it in to 2 different places. They did a diagnostic and said nothing's wrong, that the heat might be making your car run really high. But at a time as well, it's somewhat, I push my foot on the gas, it sounds like it's skipping. The transmission sounds like it was skipping.
Are there any check engine lights on there, Jody?
No.
No check engine lights. And is the temperature gauge read normal?
Yes.
Temperature gauge. Anything comes in mind for you, Kurt?
Nothing off the top of my head. I mean, no check engine light diagnosis can be the most difficult diagnosis because the computer in the car has not recognized that there's anything wrong with that car yet. And those computers now, especially since about 2000 or 2001, they're so sensitive. So the computer's not recognizing a problem with the car. It's going to be difficult. It sounds like somebody kind of blew you off and said, oh, we don't see anything wrong with it, move along, because it's not an easy diagnosis. So no matter what, that's going to have to be diagnosed by somebody who is comfortable, who will listen to your concern, who will go for a ride with you and listen to what you're hearing and that kind of thing, and can go after exactly what you're talking about. This may not be an engine control problem. It could be a fan clutch that's stuck, something like that. They make tremendous noise.
A bad wheel bearing, man, makes these things roll down the road that sound terrible.
Right. It can change the way the car feels, and you want somebody who will take the time to make sure that they go with you for a drive so that they experience the same thing that you are and that you're all on the same page as far as what your concerns are. Wherever you are, hopefully you have a relationship with somebody, you can find somebody that will do that and take that time to take care of you that way.
Hey, Jody, when you're rolling down the freeway and the thing you mentioned that was stuck at 0, the tachometer, when you're going down the freeway, what number is that at? Is that at 2, at 3, or 4?
If it's stuck, it's down at 0, never moved.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden it started moving again just after 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, I would say, let's just like Kurt said, if you don't have a good shop that you're comfortable with, you can go to bumper2bumperradio.com. You're in Phoenix. I know Matt Allen at Virginia Auto Service. They'd be more than happy to go take it for a drive with you and see what you're experiencing. We've had cars where they got a bad wheel bearing, Kurt, and when that thing rolls down the road, I mean, it sounds like there's an airplane overhead. I mean, it's it's loud as can be, and it sounds like everything's coming apart. And on some of the Toyotas, I'll see them where they won't shift into that final gear if there is an engine problem. Like a knock sensor problem, they'll keep you out of 4th or 5th gear. So you can find that bumper2bumperradio.com. We're going to go with John. He's got a 2007 Jeep Compass. Hey, John, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. How can we help you?
Yes, good morning. Thank you. My car has 95,000 miles on it, and in July my transmission light came on. So I looked it up in the book, and all the book says is to pull the car over, let the car cool down, and then the car would take off. But then in August it came on again. Now it only comes on when it's like about over 110 degrees when it's really, really hot. So I took the car into 2 different shops, and they said they took it for a drive, and the light didn't come on. But both times that the light came on, it was hot. It was hot outside, and the car would go from about, let's say, 65, 70 miles an hour all the way down to 40 miles an hour, and that would make a whining noise, and then all of a sudden it would come to like a stop almost. I had to pull the car over to the side.
So after taking it to the Chrysler dealer and Wilhelm Automotive here in Goodyear, they both tell me that I got to replace the transmission. There is no used transmissions, only rebuilt, and these transmissions are costing between $3,500 and $4,000. I had the transmission oil changed in April, and when I took it to the Chrysler dealer, I took the paperwork to them and showed them what kind of oil they put in it. They said it wasn't the right kind of oil because I had it in a different shop. So could there be anything else going on besides the light that came on in July and it came on in August? Now that it's cool, the light's not coming on at all, although I hear just a little bit of a humming noise sometimes.
Okay. I'm real familiar with the Jeep Compass, and that's the CVT transmission that's come up a couple times during the show, and those things are notorious for overheating. So when you get them in the hills, a lot of times people take them out, for summer road trips, and they get up in the mountains, and these things overheat. And you do. You got to pull over the side of the road, let that thing cool down, and get going again. And when it gets to that point, it's not a very rebuildable transmission. I mean, when they fail, there's not a whole lot in them to fix. There's a couple of cones and a chain and a few other things, but there's not a lot to them. So, yes, I mean, I don't know that I would have any good news for you. It's still driving. It's still working if you can put up with the annoyance of the overheat for now. The other problem, you said there was maybe the wrong fluid put in there, and I'm not sure what wrong fluid means. There is a specific fluid that goes into a CVT transmission, and so that's where you want to make sure when you're talking, hey, this is a $3,000, a $5,000 investment. You want to make sure you're working with a shop that's going to put the right stuff in there, not what's convenient for them, but what's good for you. That's really important, and that's one that a lot of people skip out on, is putting in the right stuff. And a CVT fluid is totally different underneath the microscope. Any thoughts you have, Kurt?
Well, I was sitting here smiling at you because I know how OCD you are about you test the fluids. You're the best guy that I know about, having all that, chemical analysis done on the fluids and everything. How does a dealer, in this case, know it's the wrong fluid? I have seen dealers say, oh, your car's running funny because it's got the wrong spark plugs in it. They didn't chemically analyze it. They yanked the thing, and maybe it's obvious, maybe it's the wrong fluid. But I've sure heard that, that cast, oh, you used the wrong stuff, should have come to us. We don't care about you because you didn't come to us, use the wrong stuff.
I'm about to foam at the mouth here. I'm going to tell you a true story. And a good friend of mine, his son was in my wedding. He was the ring boy that carried the rings. That was great. He's now 17 years old, 18 years old. He comes to me. He's got this Honda, and he gets the transmission service from me. I'm proud that he's there, and I'm getting to service his transmission. And he's over at the dealership literally 2 weeks later. He's on the service drive, and he's getting the car written up, and the guy pulls out the dipstick, and he goes, wow, your transmission needs service. And Micah says, well, I just had it done, And the guy pulled out the dipstick again, and he smelled it. And he said, oh, yeah, but they used the wrong fluid.
Liars. Liars.
Well, the funny thing is, and I called over to that dealership, and I had some words with the service manager of that, service department, because I bought the fluid from them. Mm-hmm. I buy in 55-gallon drums of Honda fluid. Now, they don't use Honda fluid in their particular dealership because their ownership says, hey, we're going to use something else. So they use a substitute in their dealership. But what I'm telling you, folks, is that just because it's the dealer doesn't mean that they're the ultimate authority, and sometimes they take advantage of that. People assume, hey, I'm at the dealership, these guys are the best, but you know what? There's not a guy in my shop that couldn't go get a job down there tomorrow, whether he knows anything about the brand or not. Right. So that's why I'm foaming at the mouth, because somebody's throwing somebody else under the bus when, if I think I got the wrong fluid, I send it in the lab and I have it tested and I compare it to my numbers to see if it's the right stuff. So when we come back, we're taking more phone calls at 602-277-5827. You're listening to Bumper Radio.
The monsoon is here.
It has just started hailing. I got to get back in the news truck. I'm getting hit with the hail.
KTAR News brings you the most up-to-date weather information every 6 minutes, weekday mornings. And as weather news breaks throughout the day, we'll tell you where severe weather is heading, so you'll be aware before it's too late. On KTAR News, 92.3 FM, and the KTAR app.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A+ rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20-plus years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
Are you looking for a refreshing change in customer service? I'm Lee Weatherby from Accurate Automotive. How about a refreshing change in your car repair relationship with honest, clear, and responsive service that looks out for your needs and not ours? For over 20 years, we've been delivering award-winning service provided by ASE certified technicians with one goal, looking out for your best interest. If it needs fixing, we'll tell you. If it doesn't, you'll know that too. I guarantee that you will not get that business-as-usual treatment at Accurate Automotive. Foreign and domestic, cars, trucks, and even fleet service, Accurate can handle your job. I invite you to come in and experience a refreshing difference in car repair and maintenance. Stop by for a free courtesy inspection, a $49 value. We feel it is well worth our investment in you because we know that good long-term relationships start early with your first walk through our doors. I'm Lee Weatherby, and I'll be there to greet you. Accurate Automotive, home of friends serving friends, just off Broadway and Robeson in Mesa since 1992. For more information, check us out at AccurateAutomotiveAZ.com today.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and bumper-to-bumper radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio. Matt Allen for Virginia Auto Service has taken the day off. So I've got Kurt Morgan from Shadow Mountain Auto Repair at 32nd Street in Shea in here to help me help you. And if you want to find him, you can find him at bumpertobumperradio.com. You're going to find a list of shops there that Matt and I endorse, that we feel comfortable with, that we would send our mother to or our grandmother to. These are people in the community that you're going to run into at Safeway or Bash's or at the soccer game, and they care about you and your car. It's in their best interest to take care of you, and they know it. So these are people that I'm gladly referring you down there to if there's ever a problem, because that happens in auto repair. There could be a problem from time to time or a misunderstanding. You know that you've got somebody there that's going to do you right. So anyway, up first this segment, we're going to go with Glenn in Glendale. And I don't know what he's got, but we'll take him anyway. Hey, Glenn, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. What can we help you with?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Oh, I got an 04 Isuzu Rodeo. It's actually my girl's car, but she says, and this happened to me too, she turns the key, and the lights and everything will come on normally, but the won't turn the engine over. So then do it again, and then it'll turn over. Now, I kind of understand that it might be that just where the key goes in, that might be the problem, but sometimes it will actually, the engine light will come on, it will start up, but the check engine light will come on, and then it will say reduce power, and the gas pedal will not work. So you can actually drive normally, but with no gas, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, reduced power. Why it would be going into reduced power mode, that's fascinating. But it's going to set codes. It's going to leave a trace in there that we can see and look at and scan the computer and see what codes it's setting as to why it did that. Now, whether it's related to the not starting or not, I don't know, but that's certainly where I would start. Get a scan tool, get somebody that can run a scan tool, knows what they're doing, and get in there and find out what codes are setting, and then go and see. I would look at the first thing that comes to mind is maybe that shifter. There's a little bit of misalignment in that shifter. It's not quite all the way in park, at least electrically. It may be physically, it feels like it's in park, but if it's not all the way, it could be setting codes related to the transmission that sometimes will put it in that reduced power mode and can cause the vehicle to be confused. It's starting up, it's kind of in park, it's kind of in reverse, whatever. There may be a problem in the shifter, but first things first, let's get codes out of it and see. We've got to get somewhere who will, and somebody's going to charge you to get involved and start taking their time to trace down what's going on, but get somebody that's competent at that, and I think that probably will not be a real difficult diagnosis to figure out. And I would get it done before it leaves you stranded, to where it just will not start at all, too.
Thanks for the call, Glenn. We're going to go with Ralph in Levine. He's got a 2007 Kia Sedona. How can we help you, Ralph? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hello. Yeah, I had a quick question about my
on my Sedona. The fan control module, I just had replaced it with a used one, and now it's like it's kicking again the same old thing. The fan doesn't turn on. My question was, would the fan end up being causing it for the module to go out, or would that have to look somewhere else? Because what happens when you tap on it, it will turn on. But one of the constant things that I'm tapping it for the fan to kick in.
Well, Ralph,
now it's simply turn off.
Ralph, it looks like Kurt looks like he may know something over there. I couldn't quite interpret what was going on there, but something come to mind for you?
I'll tell you right off the bat. A fan control module is the control unit for a load, which is the fan. Anytime that you see a load control unit, which is running current through it, and Kia does that. Kia will run the current for the fan directly through that controller. They don't use a separate relay to do that, and so that controller is a high failure rate item. It is caused to fail a lot of times by the fan itself being bad, so those two components will go bad together. Somebody needs to, if the fan control unit is bad again, somebody needs to run an amp test on that fan and make sure that that fan is not over-amping and causing the control unit to fail. So they fail together a lot of times. The fan the controlled item, the fan in this case, will cause the controller, because it's a high current controller, to fail. So I'd look at that real carefully. It sounds like you've got a bad fan as well, and it probably is going to turn into, hey, your controller hasn't been damaged, you just need to replace that fan. I bet you the way that turns out. But somebody competent in electrical diagnosis needs to look at that and actually perform an amperage draw. A lot of guys are not comfortable with that. Get somebody that's comfortable with electronics.
Well, if you need to shop, bumper-to-bumperradio.com. We got a text here. My daughter has a 2000 Honda Civic, and the SRS light is on, and there's also a check engine light on, and they kind of left it like that. Are those the same problem, Kurt?
Yeah, generally not. And they have problems. The Civics of that era have got a problem with the in the actual belt buckle, the seat belt buckle. Honda has a recall on that, and they should replace that. If that's what it is, it needs to be looked at to see. But the SRS system, which is a safety restraint system, or the airbag system, is only incidentally related to anything that's going to turn on check engine light, be an engine control. There's very few things that cross-pollinate there that will cause, that are related. My guess is that car has two distinctly separate problems. By far the most common SRS problem in that car, the dealer's probably going to take care of for free. The other one is just, who knows, get it somebody that can diagnose it correctly.
I got a text here. What's the difference between a Ford F350 and an F250? You're kind of a Ford guy.
Yeah, well, depending on what year and everything else, some of them, it was a stiffer rear spring was it. The older models had a completely different front end setup, but what they call TTB or a front axle was completely different. So depending on what era that is, there could be a big difference or almost none.
I always thought of Kurt as a diesel geek, but I think he's just an automotive geek altogether. So if you're looking for a good shop and you want a geek to work on your shop, go to Shadow Mountain Auto Care. You can find them at bumper-to-bumperradio.com. Thanks, Bree, for running the dials. We're glad you could all join us. If you're looking for a friendly, honest, competent shop, you can find them at bumper-to-bumperradio.com. While you're there, be sure to join the Bumper to Bumper family on Facebook. Remember never to text and drive. From all the shops at Bumper to Bumper Radio, have a great weekend. Matt and I share car repair tips weekly to help you keep your car safely on the road, and a few of them are easy to do.
Yep, you're right, Dave. And one of the easiest is to have a dependable battery that you can trust to get you started no matter what the conditions.
Interstate batteries are what we trust at Bumper to Bumper Radio. In fact, they're what we use at our own shops for our customers.
If you're like most people, your car is one of your most valuable investments. Make sure you take care of that investment with the power necessary to get you where you need to be. Interstate batteries are America's #1 replacement brand with the factory fresh guarantee, and they're easy to find at good shops everywhere.
Cars or trucks, Interstate has you covered with long life and performance in our harsh desert climates with products like Megatron Plus. It carries a 30-month free replacement and a 6-year performance guarantee.
Interstate batteries. No battery lasts longer. Check them out at interstatebatteries.com.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale. We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we've been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at tricitytransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
Summer's winding down, Dave. It's back to school.
Yep. Check out my new Scooby-Doo lunchbox, Matt. Cool, huh?
Yeah, nice, Shaggy. And did you write your What My Car Did for Summer essay?
What? Is that due?
Join us Saturdays, 11 to noon, for Bumper to Bumper Radio on News Talk 92.3 KTAR.
And for the best car repair and body shops you can trust, it's bumpertobumperradio.com. Drive in anxious, cruise out feeling fine with Bumper to Bumper Radio.